All right, let's do a little guitar. So, I have friends out here that want to learn how to play guitar. Again, I'm not trying to say that I know how to play guitar, because I know that there's a lot of people out there that can play guitar way better than me, but I think that sometimes is what's intimidating to some people that want to start learning how to play guitar, is because they feel that they're drowning in the fact that they can't even start, because if they start, whatever age you are, typically it's going to be older people. When we start, when you're in your like late 20s, 30s and 40s or whatever, you're like, oh, maybe it's too late to start because I'm never going to be as good as someone who started when they were really young. Probably true, could be true, doesn't have to be true. It's going to be depending upon like how much you put into it. But going into it is, I said 15 minutes a day you can start learning how to play guitar. And I put that to the test. So it's been about 3 years, and I still wouldn't say that I know how to play guitar, but I can play some songs. In the last video I went over learning D, C, and G. So for me it was pretty hard to learn those 3 chords, because I didn't really have a lot of guidance. I did reach out to some people and ask them, so I'm going to go over what I have done, and maybe it can help you. So first one is going to be D. So it's real difficult to do D, and it's okay that it's difficult. It's just training, so it's going through the repetition. So the chords are counted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6 is at the top, so it's always hard. So when you're talking about the chords, it's starting at, if I start at the top, it's going to be this is an E, but this is also an E. Okay, so E and E. Then there's A. A is number 5 chord, A. Then you go D, G, and then B, and again E again, right? So it's important to know those. Again, those don't really change unless you're working up here where you're changing into different chord things. Don't worry about all of that. Again, when you're getting started, just the very basics. All I looked at is like, what's the most simple way I can start to learn and play guitar? Now, again, going just to touch on this, so we don't have to keep harping. There's people where I watch them and they're playing all of these chords. Their hands are moving up and down, and they're jamming, they're rocking out. Like, nah, I don't want to do that. So my purpose of playing guitar, or starting to learn how to play guitar, and I always view myself as, I'm going to be a student for the rest of my life. I'm okay with that. But being a student doesn't mean that I can't help other people as they're learning as well. And that goes into other facets of my life. And I always want to be learning. I always want to be in a point where I know that there's still more to learn. So with the chords I just went over. So you have E, A, D, G, B, A, right? If I make any mistakes on all this, like, oh well. I mean, I really don't care about people pointing out mistakes. I am learning, and I know that, and that's not contrary to learning. It's just the fact that I'm sitting here going through a video, and so my mind's trying to focus on the video and what I'm about to say. So sometimes I'm not paying close enough attention. So if I do, and you really want to point it out, feel free to. It's okay. So there's several different ways to do chords. I think it's important to know the name of the chords. It doesn't mean that I can read them off of a sheet of paper as of right now. I could years ago, but that was a degrading skill, and not using it means that I kind of lost most of it. Doesn't mean I couldn't pick it up and start learning how to read sheet music again, but for the most part, I don't have to. I just need to know chord. What chord is it? Okay, I can play it. So D. So the D that I use is your middle finger, and an easier way to start it off. So these are your frets, right? So these are called frets, and these are your strings, and then the combination of them, you'll make a chord. So the D that I use, I'm going to put the middle finger on the first string, right? And we already established that's E, but we don't have to keep going over all of that. We just want to make it easy. Don't want to overload anything. Now the second finger goes on string number 3, and then this is where it gets hard. You have to be able to, and it's not going to come easy. It doesn't just happen right away. Maybe there are people that pick it up and there's like, oh look, I can play D. I can play a D right away, right? Well, not me. So in order to do that, I had to watch myself. I had to look at the strings and put my fingers in place. So again, middle finger on the first string, second fret. So first string, first fret, second fret, third, fourth, and so on. So first fret, and I want to put it close because these bars right here are what change the sound. So if I don't have my finger on anything and I do this bottom E, that's an open chord, right? So that's going to make an open. So if I put it too far back here, I'm pushing down pretty well though, so it might make the sound, but it might not make the right sound. And if I get up close, that's what I want, because that's what the guitar was designed to do. So there we go. So that's what I do. So I put my middle finger there, again, index finger on the third string, second fret also, and then my ring finger is going to go on the second string on the third fret. Now what I've done is I learned to put my thumb, wrap my thumb, because a lot of times I want to mute the E string. But in theory, when you play the D, I don't want to hit the A string either, because I just want the D string to be able to ring out. So I don't wrap it all the way like that. What I've learned to do, and this wasn't something I did right away, right? It was I had to learn to only hit starting at the D and not hitting that. And I was able to do that just changing the angle, because I strum like this if I want to hit them all, and when I don't want to strum them all, I angle the pick so that it just comes down right at the D. Nothing you have to learn right away, okay? So again, starting, keep it simple. All the rest comes. It all comes. It will come to you. So again, 1, 2, 3. Now you test it. So you have to test. So if my finger, let's say, and I was joking. So when I would teach my kids, when my kids and I were learning, what we would do is we would just joke and say, "You're fat fingering." That's not to put anybody down. It just means that we were being lazy with our fingers and the placement. So you have to use the tips of your fingers, the very tips, and those are what presses down on the strings so that you get the chord, so you get a nice clean chord. Now let's say, so this is a nice clean chord, you just heard it. I'll play it again. I think it's a clean chord. Sure, there's people who can do it better. Now there are different variations of D. There's like D minor. But again, I just wanted to keep it as simple as I could as I was learning guitar, as I am still learning guitar, but I just want to keep it simple. So again, 1, 2, 3. That's simple. That's real simple. You can go ahead, you can keep your thumb wrapped if you want. If you don't want to, you can keep your thumb to where it's pressed on the back. And then you just strum. If it doesn't sound real clean, again, it's okay. In the beginning, the first months of me doing it, I just wanted to get my fingers used to going to these chords. So going to the strings that they're supposed to go to produce the chord, right? So the changing of chords. So I would go D, G, D, G, D, G. And we'll get to that. But again, 1, 2, 3. And I would strum it, and I would just go down. I would go D, D, D. It did not sound great. I've actually just recently watched a video from when I was first starting, and I was talking, and I was like, oh, D, 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 look at this D, I'm playing D. And it was a terrible D, probably actually not even classified as D by many musicians. But again, it's just 1, 2, 3. D, 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 D. You just get that down. That's really guitar 101, D. And then as we're here, so you see how your fingers are lined up. So how we have them lined. So what I do is I bring my pinky finger, the pinky, it touches the first string on the 3rd chord, and then the top, these two will just go right up to there. So they're down here, and it's just it's a really easy adjustment, but it's not easy when you begin, but it will become easy. So for G, the pinky finger will go on the 1st string, 3rd fret. 1, 2, 3. 1st string, which is an E, right? We know that. Now, this finger, your ring finger, stays on that chord that it was at, which makes it a little bit easier because we bring the pinky finger up, and then we lift these top two to take them up to make a G. So we have D and then G. So the middle finger will go to the 3rd fret, chord number 6. Your index finger will stay on the 2nd fret, but it'll come up to the A, and it will look like this. Right there. So like that, G. So as we play, G. It's a beautiful sounding G, right? Sounds great. And again, keeping my fingers close to the bar right here that separates the frets. So then we go D, D, G. Now, doing that, I just practice that back and forth many times. So and again, it wasn't easy. I would sit with the phone, I would look up how to do D, and I would sit here, and it was like so tedious for me to get my fingers to bend, get my hand to contort in the way that I could actually keep my fingers on it, and I go D, 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 right? And then I'd go and I'd look back at my phone, I'd have to switch over, look at how I do G, and then I'd put my fingers on there, contort all of that stuff again, I'd get it in place, and I'd go, okay, G, G, G. Then I'd want to go back to D. Do you think I just was able to do that and drop right back to D at the time? No, I wasn't. No, it was. I remember I was like so frustrated. I was sweating. I was so frustrated. I was like, why can't I remember this? So what I would do, once I went to G, pull back out, go back to my phone, have to unlock it, all of that stuff, find D again, and then manually put my fingers 1, 2, 3. D. And then I wanted to go G. Could I do that? No, I had to do it all over again. Look it all up, redo everything, and go right back into G, right? But these are the first 2 of 3 very important chords. The next one was C. So with C, we're going to put our ring finger on the A chord, so the 5th string, 3rd fret. Our middle finger will go on the 4th string, which is D, 2nd fret, and then our index finger is going to be all the way down here. It's going to be on the 1st fret, the very 1st fret, and it's going to be on the B string, the 2nd string. So it's going to look like this. Now, again, I wrap my finger because when we play E, we mute. Or when we play C, we mute the E. We don't want the E to sound. Because if the E sounds, it's not a C chord. This is how it sounds if I'm not blocking it. Then this is how it sounds if I'm blocking. So, again, D, then you switch to G, and then we'd have to switch to C. Now, C to G was really difficult also. But again, for weeks, all I would do, 15 minutes max, because I would get so frustrated in myself with having to look it back up or having to stop and go back through. But I just wanted to get my hands used to being able to go into these positions. So I would go D, C, D, C, D, G, D, G, G, C. And I would just do it back and forth. Just those 3 chords. That was it. As the time progressed, and I realized that, when I say time progressed, it doesn't mean like a couple days. It was weeks, definitely weeks. I mean, I spent many days, again, 15 minutes a day, 15 minutes a day, learning to do these chords, just to get my fingers to go into the right place. Then I wanted to make sure that I wasn't doing what I just already said earlier was fat fingering, right? Lazy. So if I play this and I'm doing a lazy where my fingers are maybe they're flattening out, like so like that, I get this, or maybe I was not in the right place and I get some rattle. We also called it rattle tattle. So there was fat fingering and rattle tattle. So fat fingering means that my finger is, and how can I show this? So when you're pushing down on a chord, your finger's going to be close to the bar, pushing that way, right? But when we would call it fat finger, and what happened was like maybe your finger was tilting back. So if I want this A chord to sound, but if I'm touching it, you're not going to hear it. Now, if my finger is back here, so if I'm trying to play a chord and my finger is a little too far back and it's not close enough, sometimes you'll get like a little rattle right there. That is what we call rattle tattle, letting you know. So there's just ways that with the sound, you can tell that your fingers may not be in the correct place. So, and then once I had C, D, G down enough, when I say down, I mean to where I felt comfortable, again, not perfect, but I felt comfortable being able to go, okay, I'm in C, and I'm playing this, and I'm trying to play along with the song. The whole time I'm doing these, after I got the hand movement down, I started playing songs. And there's a whole lot of songs on YouTube that I was using in the ones that I wanted to use was where the chords were scrolling across the bottom. And not fast songs. I wanted really slow songs, just real slow, so that I could be looking up at the video and trying to play. And I didn't want to stare down at my hands as I'm switching, because I would be trying to stare at my hands and here we are, and I'm missing chords. I'm missing because they're moving, but as I have to look down and do it, it was slowing me down. I did that completely fine, right? Because I would look and then I'd have to look down and be, okay, I gotta go to D next, D, okay. Oh, this one's C. Oh, here's how I put my hands on C. Oh no, now they're back. I missed G. That's fine. Let's go to D. And as I was missing the chords, because there's so many songs that are just C, D, G. That's it. That's why those 3 chords are why I chose to start with those, because there's hundreds, maybe thousands songs that are just C, D, and G. And some of them use a capo or capo, however you want to say it. It doesn't matter. But if it's a capo or a capo first fret, you would put this on like that, and then you would just continue C, D, G, and you play the song that way. Which I guess if you know more about music, it changes the actual chord, so it's not really a C, but your finger's in the C position. Don't worry about that. None of it matters. We're learning to play for ourselves, right? Because it was never my idea to be some big rock and roll star. So CDG, C, D, oh D, G, right? So C, D, G, and that was it. So learning those three, getting comfortable with moving my hand, because your fingers aren't really made to move that way. But getting my fingers to where they were comfortable, it's a practice. It's a continual thing. 15 minutes a day, just sitting down. It's going to be very, very frustrating for like the first 2 weeks probably. And that's the hardest time, is the first 2 weeks. Once you can get your fingers to where you're like, okay, I feel comfortable moving in this position, then, or sooner, however long it takes you, right? Then you might want to start looking at maybe cleaning the sound, so you're not getting the rattle tattle where oh, I'm too far back. The rattle tattle, so you move your fingers closer. You're not getting the doll sound. Oh, I'm fat fingering, so let me fix this and actually angle my fingers down. Once I started getting that, I started playing along with YouTube videos. Again, the ones that scroll, there's so many of them out there. And find songs that you like. Find songs that you like, you enjoy listening to, and that are CDG. I bet you'll find them. I bet you will. And they don't have to be your most favorite song in the world, but just a song that you're like, I kind of like that song, so I can go ahead and play it. It doesn't mean you're going to stick with it. I had found like 100 songs that were CDG predominantly. I started getting into like E minor and stuff like that, because there's just songs that require E minor, and so I just started using those songs because E minor was a real easy one to learn. We're not talking about that right now. It's C, D, G, right? C, D, G. You get those down, play along. Get to where you don't have to look as you're doing the chords. And then you're really well above anybody else that doesn't know how to play guitar, right? I mean, because if you're spending 15 minutes a day, for me, and you might be more advanced, you might pick up on it better than I did, but I'm gonna say it probably took me, I don't know, I mean, months before I really was comfortable, and I wasn't looking down at all when I was switching in the chords. I'm just moving my finger. So that 15 minutes a day, D. Then you could spend your first day, take your hand off, put your hand on, D. Take your hand off, put your hand on, D. Take your hand off, put your hand on, D. Day number 2 for 15 minutes, G. Take your hand off, put your hand on, G. C. Third day. And then maybe 4th day transitioning, D, G, D, G. And then so on and so forth, just getting the transitions down. And then, in no time, you'll be playing lots of songs. Again, CDG, hundreds or maybe even thousands of songs that are out there that you can play, and you'll be able to. Now, when I say that you'll be able to play them, doesn't mean that you're doing great, doesn't mean, no, again, I mean, it depends on what you're looking for. My whole point, the whole premise of me wanting to learn guitar was just for myself, just so I can play guitar. I just wanted to be like, I can play guitar. 3 years in, would I say that I can play guitar? I wouldn't go around boasting that I could play guitar. I could say I'm still learning guitar. I might be able to play I can play some songs. It doesn't mean that the songs are great. It doesn't mean that I sound like the professionals that do it, but that's not the point of it, right? What it does is it allows me to take time. I can play in front of my kids, which they're wonderful. They're my greatest fans. They love it. They tell me, "Oh, you're so great." I'm like, yes, thank you. You're too kind. You're too kind, right? But it's not something that I really want to go up in front of a whole crowd of people to do. Would I? Well, I might be doing something like that, but it's not really the ultimate goal. The ultimate goal is to where I can just play guitar. Music to me has always been therapeutic. And when you start playing guitar, if you really like music, when I'm playing, well, even if I'm not even playing it very well, but I'm just trying to play along with a song, it's like the feeling is like I become the song. It's like it's meditation. It is therapeutic, and it's so relaxing to be able to just kind of play along with the song. And hopefully this encourages anyone out there that's been thinking about guitar. I know I just did a video about it, telling everybody about CDG and why they're important to learn those three, or why I decided to learn those three. But this one is just to follow up and go into a little bit more elaboration on the chords, how to do it. Because, and yeah, there's other there's C9, there's C add 9, don't worry about that. If you can just get these basic ones down, and if you want to do C, D, or G a different way, do it a different way. It's okay. There are people out there that might tell you you're wrong. It's fine. I was told by several people I'm doing G wrong. They said don't do G that way, do G this way. I listened to a lot of people, especially early on, because I knew, wow, they're way better than me. Maybe I need to start switching this up. I need to do this way. And what I found was I was just getting more frustrated, not in like a mad sense, but just frustrated as like confounded by the fact that like I would learn D and then they're telling me do D a different way, do G a different way, and now everything I was doing must have been wrong. But that's not the case. I will tell you that if you just do D, G, and C the way I told you, your music will sound fantastic. It's going to sound just fine, and anyone that tells you otherwise, well, that's fine. That's their opinion, and they're allowed to have it. But someone's opinion doesn't make it a fact. So hopefully this helps. And if you do start doing guitar, if you do pick it up and you start doing 15 minutes a day, record yourself. Start recording it, and I am all right. If you share it with me, I would love it. I would love to have any type of sharing your videos. If you want any help or feedback, again, I'm not a professional. I don't do any guitar lessons or anything like that, but I'm more than happy to give you any tips that helped me on my way. Mistakes that I made on my way, I mean, I'm sure there are mistakes, and I'm still figuring out some things here and there. I don't know all the chords on a guitar. I don't know all the chord changes when you change frets and stuff like that. So if you have advanced questions, not for me. But I'm willing to learn guitar with you. And we can learn guitar together, because I'm still learning. After 3 years, still learning, 15 minutes a day. It's not really that hard. You can wake up 15 minutes early, do it 15 minutes before you go to bed, instead of maybe watching videos or playing on your phone or whatever people do that waste more than 15 minutes in a day. 15 minutes a day, you can start learning how to play guitar. That's it. Hopefully this helps.